Alright, guys, so I am back with a new video, and I know it's been a while since my last upload, but there are reasons for that. I spent last month in the hospital, but I'm fine now. I'm getting better, and I was waiting for a new mic. In fact, I was waiting for a mic because I don't have any mic. I technically use my phone to record, so I was waiting for a mic. I ordered a mic just for it to arrive today. While I was waiting to use it and record my new video, and for it to be absolute dog shit, I am so disappointed and I wanted to crash out. But there is nothing I can do. If I'm to return it back due to where I'm staying, I'm the one that's going to be at loss, and so I have to resell it. It's not compatible with my phone, and so it's it's just disappointing. So I have to like resell it to someone that's compatible with. But now to the main point of the video. Today I want to talk about James Gunn's Batman. James Gunn announced he was going to make the DCU version of Batman titled Batman Brave and the Bold. It's still subject to change depending on how they want to go about it. But when he said he was looking for a Batman in his 40s, a lot of people questioned and were like, so what happens now? And so when he said he's looking for Batman in his 40s, the DCU just started and he said he has a 10-year plan. That would mean if the Batman is looking for an actor in his 40s, that means he would expect Batman to be like near retirement by the end of the 10-year plan. So I had to, do a little, should I even say chronology? I'm just terrible at this. He had to do a little, timeline calculation of how the Bat family and Batman, how the Robins, Batgirl, all of them would come into place, and how it would even make sense for a 40-year-old Batman to exist with a 30-year-old Superman, and how it would also, should I even say, try to be accurate to like the Batman mythos in the comic. And so I would just say if he's looking for Batman in his 40s, and the Justice League hasn't been formed in the DCU yet, but Batman is in his 40s, I would say maybe Batman started. This is just a maybe. I'm just trying to like pick up like these different points in the timeline. I'm not perfect at this or whatever. I'm not James Gunn either. But I'm just saying maybe Bruce experiences his origin at maybe 9 to 12 years. Then he leaves Gotham and trains to be Batman from let's say maybe 14 to 20, and he returns back to Gotham, and then he's 21, he becomes Batman, and he's 21 to 22, Batman year 1 takes place. Then he's 22 to 23, Batman year 2 takes place. And so following that can be from him being 23 to 25, I can say Long Halloween and like Dark Victory takes place. And so like you have like these early Batman stories, the villains have come in here already further. But what I'm really feeling is like, if this Batman has been through all this, it means James Gunn will be going for a version of Batman that is kind of like Brave and the Bold. I think that's what he's going for, like the Brave and the Bold animated series. He doesn't need to go back to origins or any of that. Like, these villains just exist. He cannot jump into them, and I think that's what he's trying to go for. But I think him stretching Batman out to like 40 is like pushing it. But anyways, let me just continue my timeline, not bullshit. So let's say Batman is 26. Let me just say, by 25 he must have abducted Dick Grayson, who would now become Robin at 13 when he met Bruce when he was 12. Like, it's just me trying to fit in the Bat family into this timeline of a 40-something-year-old Batman. And so Dick Grayson is 13, he becomes Robin. Batman is 26. This is Batman and Robin year one. Batman is still young, Dick Grayson is really young, and so on and so forth. I can just say, most people think Batman and Batgirl are like this close tight duo or something. Like Batman and Batgirl are not that close. Like Batgirl is much closer to Dick Grayson of any character of the Bat family. After the Batgirls, like Dick Grayson is like this, and Commissioner Gordon, her family. Dick Grayson is like the one character that she's mostly, aligned with, and so I can just say, but Batgirl becomes Barbara becomes Batgirl when Dick Grayson is around 15, because most of the early stories Dick Grayson was Robin, while Barbara came out as Batgirl and stuff, and so yeah, Dick Grayson is 15, Barbara becomes Gordon. She's probably the same age or maybe a year younger than Dick Grayson, and so because I've read some Batman comics, but I've not read the older Batman comics. I mostly read important early 2000 stories and then rebirths going forward and stuff until 2023. That's when I stopped. But reading mainline Batman, and I've been reading Absolute Batman, and so I'm not really sure how Dick Grayson and Barbara's age are, if she's older than him or not. I don't know. So let me just get back to the whole shenanigans. So let's just say at 16, Dick Grayson is feeling older. He's feeling like he needs to do more. He needs to be his own guy, and so he leaves Batman and forms the Titan around 16, 17, the Teen Titans. And so while he leaves Batman, this is a 30-year-old Batman. If Dick Grayson was Robin at 13, you remember that Dick Grayson leaves Batman. He's still Robin, but he leaves Batman while Bruce is 30. And it will mean that along that point where he forms Titans, when he's 17, Bruce would have met Jason and adopted him when he was 13, 14, meaning by 30, when Dick Grayson has already formed the Titans, at least 2 years in, Jason Todd is Robin. And then going forward, I think Killing Joke would take place during, that point, and then, Dick Grayson is away from the whole story. Barbara becomes Oracle, and well, she doesn't become Oracle yet. She's just she gets shot, and as timeline is going forward, Dick Grayson becomes Robin at 20. What am I saying? Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing at 20. And as Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing at 20, Bruce is 33. And I can say Jason Todd would die at 17. I always feel that Dick Grayson and Bruce are much closer in age. And then Jason just follows after, So I would feel that Jason would be 7. Jason was not a pre-teen or an early teen, 13, 12, 14. I think he was around 14 or so. If I'm to put timeline right, he was around 13 when he met Bruce, and so it would make sense for him to become Robin around 15, because he had no training like Dick Grayson, who was an acrobat before he even became Robin, and so he must have taken longer to train and stuff. That's if I'm putting this whole timeline into respect and stuff. And so Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing at 20. Jason Todd, he dies. The whole death in the family happens. He's 17. He dies. And then going forward, Dick Grayson is Nightwing, blah, 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 blah. He goes on to become his own guy, has his own stories. And let's say the Teen Titans, they reform into the Titans. Him and his former mates, they are much older. And I can say Bruce might be in his mid-30s. And then, Dick Grayson will be in, his mid-20s. He'll be, 25. And then, by then, Bruce would be, closing 37, 38 and stuff. He would be, living his mid-30s. And so, I can just say, if that is how like I'm calculating it, it will mean that the Grayson would not the Grayson, Tim Drake, yeah. Like Tim Drake would discover Batman and Robin's identity when he could be like 14. Because I think like Tim Drake was much older than the Grayson when he became Robin. So he discovered the identities, and then let me say he's 14. Just putting this calculation into forget about what I'm saying. Tim Drake becomes Robin at 15. Bruce is in his mid 30s. They have their own shenanigans. And then Tim Drake becomes adopted. The whole shit happens with his dad, and he leaves to form Young Justice. Where Young Justice gets formed while Tim Drake is 17, and Bruce is like, while Tim Drake goes away to form Young Justice. Like, it kind of fits if it happens this way. Tim Drake, or like Jason Todd, gets resurrected and becomes Red Hood. Like, it would make sense, Nightwing is there leading the Titans. Tim Drake is there with the Young Justice. Like, it would make sense for like Bruce to like handle the whole Red Hood situation. Like, Nightwing came in the story, but he was not like there in the like entirety of it, and so it would just make sense like this. Like, each of them were like mostly doing their own thing, and Nightwing returned back to his city and his team and all whatnot. And so by the time Under the Red Hood takes place, Bruce is like 40. He's much older. He's deep in this. He's fought a lot of villains. He has been doing this for a long time, and so like Jason comes to like challenge his views and stuff. Like, it would make most sense like this. Like, I feel that it would make perfect sense if James Gunn were to start like look for an actor in his late 20s, so that before he even gets to this point in like Batman's story, too much will not be lost. There will have to be like some story to tell. So it would be best if he starts like, if James Gunn and like Peter Safran were to start at Bruce's mid 30s, like in my timeline. I'm saying it would be best if like Bruce is 36. Yeah, Tim Drake just became Robin. You don't need to go deep into the origin. Like, Tim Drake just became Robin. Like, forget Damian. Damian is getting popular. He's the current Robin. So I feel like the company is trying to like push Damian as Robin. But if we Damian Robin has to come to like these movie fans. No problem if we see Nightwing. Everybody knows the Grayson was the first Robin. No problem if we see Jason Todd. Everybody knows Red Hood. Like Damian has to be like built in properly. Like, I feel like it will make more sense that way. And so I feel Tim Drake being Robin, just becoming Robin, it will make more sense. Bruce is there. He's training at Robin. The whole Red Hood situation hasn't happened yet, and Nightwing is away. Like, that would be the best point for James Gunn to start Batman, an experienced Batman, fantastic guy. He has fought all sorts of villains. He's used to this shit. Like, it will make more sense that way rather than racing to Batman's 40s. If he's going to his 40s, then the Batman you're trying to portray will be in his 50s or getting to his 50s, which in my opinion is like near retirement for the guy.